Welcome to the farm this morning, guys. We are going to be doing a segment here on what is it like to homestead. We have a lot of people ask us questions, simply as what is it like to homestead? And we thought we'd share with you guys, being this is our 1-year anniversary to homesteading, what it's been like for us for the last year, where we've come from, and where we plan to go over the next little while.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a lot of information, so this is going to be broken up into a series of 2, possibly 3 different videos, just because it's way too much to go over in just one video. And I know nobody wants to sit there for an hour and just listen to us talk.
No.
Because I don't even like to listen to myself talk for an hour.
So we're going to start with where we came from.
Where did we come from?
Well, we came from BC. We were born and raised in BC. Mm-hmm. I lived there for 44 years of my life. Yep. I worked a 9-to-5 job for 22 years.
Yeah, with the same company.
Yeah. We lived out in the valley, and I was about 3 hours from work. Every day. Yeah. So I drove 6 hours round trip commuting from the valley into Richmond, which is close to Vancouver, if you guys don't know the area. And I worked an 8-hour day. So between 8 hours and 6 hours, I was gone,
all day.
14 hours a day, some days longer in the wintertime when traffic was bad.
Yeah. And before we had our last kid, I commuted too. I used to go to Vancouver every day from the valley, and it was easily a 2-hour drive, if not more. And I still had to pick up the kids and drop them off at daycare, and it wasn't worth it.
We lived in a little mobile home on a 1/4-acre lot.
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. Just to afford to have a small piece of property and a home in BC.
Yeah, it's ridiculous there. You can't afford to live in any of the cities or anywhere close to any of the cities. You literally have to live in the middle of nowhere.
We were living paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out how we were going to make ends meet every 2 weeks. And about 3 years ago, we sat down and decided it was time to make a change.
Well, there had to be a better way. That's the thing, is you can't just work to survive. That's not actually living. So we sat down, we figured out how much our house was worth, and we started looking at areas of where we could buy a house with property for what we had.
And BC was not an option.
And BC was completely out of the question. It wasn't even on the top 10. It's just way too expensive there to buy anything that has more than a 1/4 acre like we already had, and that wasn't enough.
No, so we started looking across. We looked in Alberta, Saskatchewan. We even looked in Quebec.
We did.
At places that we could, possibly homestead at. Mm-hmm. And that we actually narrowed it down to New Brunswick. And our main reason for picking New Brunswick was price.
Yeah, really. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what it came down to, is what we could get for our money. And this is where our biggest benefit was. We were able to get the biggest piece of property with the nicest house on it that we could get and not have to mortgage anything. And that was the ultimate goal.
So 1 year ago, we packed up the family, we purchased a trailer, we liquidated everything that we had, right down to just a few personal items like pictures, pots, pans, basically pretty much the clothing on our back.
Basically, we took 1 bin of clothes per person, and the kids each got to bring 1 box of toys. Everything else got liquidated. We kept things just like family pictures and basics. Other than that, we sold or got rid of absolutely everything in our entire house.
Our trailer, we purchased a couple months before we left a 6x10 trailer, and that trailer was rated for 1,700 pounds. And I think we were probably an additional 5 to 1,000 pounds over what it was rated for. But we drove it right across Canada. It took us 6 days. It was 5,600 kilometers?
It was just over 5,600 kilometers from driveway to driveway.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. It took us 6 days. We lived in our truck with the 3 kids and a dog.
Every day.
For 6 days. We drove all day. We slept for a few hours at night when it was dark, and that was basically it. We literally just drove straight through. And it was a long 6 days.
Yeah. We would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, get up. We didn't sleep too well in the truck, but I'd wake up at about 4 in the morning, and about 5 o'clock, I said to Amanda, I said, let's start the truck, let's clear the windows, and let's get going. And we would start driving, and we wouldn't stop till about 8 o'clock when it got dark.
Yeah, basically dark is when we would stop every day.
About 1,000 kilometers a day we did.
Yeah, a few days we pushed it 1,200 kilometers a day.
Yeah.
Those were really long days.
Yeah.
But our goal was to get here. We had a certain date we had to get here by when our house closed, and we just had to push it. There was no time for anything along the way.
Yeah. And then when we got here, well, we had a lot of surprises.
That's for sure.
You know, purchasing a house
On the
unsight,
internet.
unseen, on the internet,
Mm.
you know, and here in New Brunswick, things are different than BC.
Mm-hmm.
You can use what's called dual agency. You can use
Yeah.
one real estate agent for the selling and the purchasing, which in BC, that's illegal.
They phased it out
Yeah.
because the realtor then doesn't have the best interests of both parties at heart, because of course they're getting paid commission from the seller to sell the property, so they can tend to be a little more biased towards the seller versus the buyer. But here, that's not an issue. You can use the same realtor for buying and selling. And it was really difficult for us to find a realtor that wanted to work with us being in BC, because they couldn't take us to any properties, they couldn't show us anything, and pretty much everybody thought, oh, these people are just looking, they're
We
never
weren't
actually
serious.
gonna buy, they're not
Yeah.
serious. So it was actually really hard to find a realtor. So we actually ended up finding the property on our own
Yep.
online, and then just contacted the listing agent and basically went from there.
Yeah. And then when we actually got here and we took possession of the house, we walked around and we did our own little inspection ourselves, and we found a lot wrong with the house. One of the major things that was wrong with our house is we had a huge hole in the roof.
Yeah, like a person could fit through it. It was a good size hole.
And we managed to, like, we were coming into winter, so there wasn't enough time to rip the roof apart, which that's what I ended up doing this summer. But we managed to fix it enough that it would hold through the winter without any water coming in. And then this summer I ripped the roof apart and we repaired it. But
Yeah.
just something, like the toilet didn't work for a week when we got here.
If you flushed it, it took 3 hours for the tank to refill because the pipes were all caked with, sediment and stuff. We're on a well here, so the water's a little rougher.
And that's what happens is when you're on a well, a lot of your lines will rust really easy from the well
Yeah.
water. And that's what happened is the line actually rusted up to the toilet. And we had to, we didn't have to replace the whole toilet because the toilet itself was
The
fine.
toilet was fine, but it was
the line.
gross. The toilet was gross.
Yeah. So, I mean, we didn't have, I was getting buckets of water from the creek out back the
To
first
flush.
week to flush the toilet.
Yeah.
And the appliances didn't work properly. The fridge didn't keep anything
The fridge
cold.
couldn't keep anything cold. The stove, only 2 of the burners worked, and the actual oven part didn't heat up very well.
So, I mean, and a lot of you guys are sitting there right now going, well, why didn't you have a home inspection? And what was our reason for not getting a home inspection?
The reasoning being, you're going to pay money for them to walk around and look at things. Is that going to stop you from buying the property? Or are you going to get it anyway with the attitude that, okay, these are minor things, I can fix them? And for us, there wasn't a whole lot of properties available in our price range we were looking for. So I don't think having a home inspection would have stopped us from buying it one way or the other.
It would have just cost us an additional $1,000 plus to have the house inspected for him to say, the toilet doesn't flush, or you got a hole in the roof you're going to need to fix.
Yeah, or your heaters don't work, which would have been nice to know before winter, things
Exactly.
like that. But I don't think it would have made a difference for us.
No.
Simply because there wasn't a lot available.
No. So what was some of the other things that were wrong with the house that we came across in our first few days?
There was lights that didn't work. Stuff was wired really crazily so that you would turn on a switch and nothing would happen. And then we opened up the electrical boxes and wires were just randomly unhooked.
Yeah.
Just nothing together.
We've spent the last year just fixing all those little things, like you said, from the roof to the wiring. And if you are handy, having a home inspection isn't going to really change your mind, because you sit back, you say, I'm a handy person, I can fix this.
Yeah.
Then if the pictures that you see online, if you feel that the house is okay to purchase, like what we did, I mean, we saw that there was a couple shingles that were different color in the roof, but I even said to Matt, I said, I think there's an
something
issue
wrong
with that
there.
roof.
Yeah.
And sure as when we
There
got
was a
here,
hole.
there was a hole up there. But again, it was simply removing the shingles, taking up the plywood, putting down a brand new piece of plywood, some vapor barrier, and new shingles, which took me a day.
It took a day to do, which
and
was
40-degree temperatures.
Yeah, you picked like the hottest day ever in the entire summer, I think, to do that. But it got done and it got fixed, and you know, there was no damage through the roof or under the roof. It didn't cause any damage around the hole. So now the roof's perfectly good, aside from half of it needs to be reshingled again because a big portion's new now.
Yeah. I mean, it's taken us a year to get the house up to where we want it to be, but we have done it. And, you know, there's a lot of things that we didn't know about when we got here, how to fix, and that's what the internet's for. That's what YouTube is for.
Exactly.
You don't know how to fix something, you go to YouTube, you type in, how do I fix this? And there's going to be a video that's going to educate you on how to do it. So for all the people out there that are thinking, well, I know nothing about electrical, I know nothing about plumbing, there's a lot of information on the internet that can school you in how to do this. So don't be scared thinking that you can't do it, because chances are you can do it. As we found, there's a lot of things that we didn't think we could do. And what did I say to you? The best way to, you know, learn stuff is to buy a house
that you need to fix.
that you need to fix. It'll teach you how to be a handyman real fast.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So some of the other things that we came across. Can you think of anything else?
Not specifically with the house, but when we got here, we had to register our vehicles, of course, because we brought vehicles with us.
This is a big one for you guys. You know, all you guys who are thinking about moving to New Brunswick, we don't know what all the legalities are for the other provinces. But for us, we got here and we went to the motor vehicle branch and we said, you know, we brought in a truck that's 2 years old. We brought in a trailer that's 2 months old. And right away, they charged us a tire levy for driving these vehicles into the province, which was what, $15 a tire?
$15 per tire.
Yeah.
So 4 for the truck and then 2 on the trailer.
And then the lady said to us, she goes, that trailer you bought, you're lucky you bought it 60 days ago. And I said, why? She goes, well, you would have paid tax on that. I said, well, we already paid tax back in BC. I mean, what did we pay on it? Like $600 tax?
Yeah, something like that.
And she goes, well, you would have had to pay it here again. I said, even though we bought it in BC, she goes, doesn't matter.
Yeah, anything less than 30 days, you're charged 15% tax on.
So if you guys are thinking about moving to New Brunswick and you're going to purchase maybe a new truck for the haul or a trailer, make sure you do this 30 days before you come to New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Because if you buy yourself a $40,000 truck and you pay $6,000 in tax back in BC, you're going to pay that tax again here in New Brunswick. So take that into consideration.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to pay tax twice because nobody likes paying extra money for something when they don't have to.
No.
Definitely not a good thing, that's for sure.
Some of the other things that we've come across too is we talked about in our other videos, our area isn't a farm-friendly area.
It's not that it's not farm friendly, it's just the farms that are around this area, they're like big commercial type farms, like big dairy farms and 600 acres of hay fields and things like that. It's not a homesteading area, so there's not a lot of smaller farms.
And that was our problem, is we wanted to get into the chickens and the goats and trying to find somebody in our area that had chickens and goats that we could purchase from. Wasn't that easy. I mean, our chickens came from BC. You know, for all your viewers out there that didn't know where our chickens came from, we ordered them from BC back in March and had them shipped out here on a plane, and it took 4 days.
Was
it 4
I
days?
guess from the date they were born until the day we got them, it was 4 days.
4 days.
Yeah.
And it was March. It was cold.
It was cold.
I mean, our chickens, we had to order 25 of them, and they came in a little shoebox.
Yeah.
No water, no food for, what, 2.5 days?
Hours.
Yeah, it's almost 3 days on a plane because the lady took them to YVR from Vernon or something.
From the interior, yeah.
So she drove them like
4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Then they sat there for almost 12 hours before they boarded the plane in YVR.
Yeah.
Then they flew. There was a pit stop somewhere. Was it
Ontario?
Ontario.
They stayed
and they
sat
sat
there
there
12 hours.
12 hours
Before they got on another plane. And they didn't get to us until 2 o'clock in the morning.
So we had to arrange, and this is what was really good though. The airport allowed us, there's a 24-hour pickup. A lot of times for live animals.
Yeah.
Usually when you pick up cargo, there's a time. It's like between 8 or 9 in the morning and 5 or 6 at night. But live animals, there's a 24-hour window where you can pick up at any time when they come in. So we were able to go to the cargo area and pick up our
in the
chickens.
middle of the night.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen that video, check it out. It was actually quite an interesting trip for us at 2 in the morning.
They were so cute when they were little.
They were. They definitely were. Oh, this cold is really getting us.
Yeah.
That's another thing too is last year we homeschooled our kids because we were moving in September and there was a lot going on and we wanted to see what it'd be like to homeschool. And we found it took a lot of our time away from actually growing the farm, homeschooling the kids, because we would homeschool from 9 in the morning till about 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And then we didn't have time to get the farming stuff done. And the kids, we felt, weren't getting the socializing,
Yeah, because they
atmosphere.
had just each other. There's no kids in our neighborhood. There's no kids anywhere nearby. And I think they really missed out on that.
So we asked the kids this year, we said, do you guys want to go to school? And they said yes. They wanted to make some friends and they wanted to try the schools in the area. So this year the kids are in a public school.
Yeah.
And we just have one here at home, Owen, which he just tags along with us when we're doing farming stuff. And it really has freed up a lot of our time so we can build our farm quicker than last year. So hopefully over the next year, we'll get more things built and more things done with the kids in school.
For sure, because
Definitely.
That took up a lot of time just sitting here working with them. And they would come, we would take breaks, of course, and go out and do chores and stuff. But you can't just dedicate your whole day to doing a project.
No, exactly. So, and some of the other things too we noticed when we were actually looking for a house in New Brunswick, we were trying to decide whether we wanted the off-grid life or to be on-grid. And I think being our first time homesteading, we decided that we were going to do like a 50-50. And here at our homestead, we are on a septic system and we are on a well. The only thing we are on is electricity here.
Yeah, that's our only on-grid thing is our power.
So for all you guys out there that are thinking about homesteading and you want to go off-grid, here in New Brunswick, there's not a lot of areas that allow you to be off-grid. So you guys got to really do your research on where you can actually legally be off-grid.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of townships. You have to find a township that's unincorporated, and it has to be so many meters from a power source. So from power lines and things like that. If they are running down the street, you have to hook your house to them. So you have to find property that isn't anywhere near a power grid. And that's difficult to do because power lines run pretty much everywhere these days.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot more research if that's the route that you're wanting to take.
Yeah. What we have heard though, and then we're really excited about this, is NB Power is talking about a solar system upgrade for people that are interested in this. We've had a lot of, information come across the table for us where they're asking, would you be interested in making a monthly payment over 10 years to have a battery bank and a solar system be installed on your house versus being hooked to electricity?
That's right.
And of course, we're all for it. I think we'd probably be one of the first people that would jump on board with this with NB Power if they offered it. Because if you're already paying $200 a month to NB Power, you could take the $200 and make monthly payments to a solar system, and in 5 to 10 years time,
it
would be paid off.
Exactly.
And then you wouldn't have the cost anymore. So we're really excited about this
The
possibility in the future of NB Power offering this. We don't know when this is going to happen, but there's a lot of talk in New Brunswick about this possibly being rolled out over the next few years.
And that would be great because you can think how expensive some of the solar systems are. So if you could get something where they professionally installed it and you don't have to foot the bill up front, it would be a great saving tool in the long run.
Well, for us too, is we did have the 4 days last year after the hurricane where we were without power.
Yeah.
If we were on a solar system, we wouldn't have to have worried about power.
You wouldn't even notice.
Because our well, the biggest thing is our well was down. And we did not have heat. We didn't even have the wood stove installed yet.
No, not
so
at that point.
we were driving into town every day just to get food and supplies, and it was very costly during the 4-day power outage for us.
Oh, it was for sure because we had no running water at all, so there was no toilets. And we
buckets. Buckets from the creek out back.
We did have buckets from the creek, but it had been so dry in the summer that the creek was just a trickle. There really was not much in the creek at that point.
No, it wasn't.
So it definitely made it a lot harder to be able to survive at the house with nothing, because we'd only been here for just over a month too, and so we didn't have anything set up basically.
Well, our focus was, we were so excited with the homesteading life. We were like, let's start planting. And I think the first thing we did is we ran out and got some hascap bushes, and we got 50 some odd hascap bushes in the ground. We were so excited that it was our first big plantation basically on the homestead. And then we were looking at planting garlic really quick, and I think our mindset was in the wrong place. When you're starting your homestead, especially in the fall, your mindset should be heat.
Heat should be
number
your number
one is heat source.
And we thought, it's not going to be that bad. We should be okay. Everybody in the neighborhood was like, oh, the power never goes out here. If it does, it's maybe a half an hour or so. And that snow and cold doesn't start until Christmas time is when it snows. So we were like, hey, great.
And our first snowfall was actually the end
October 25th last year is when it started to snow.
And then it melted.
It did.
And Halloween was good. We took the kids out during Halloween. And then the very next week is when everything changed. We actually didn't even have a fall last year.
No, there was
no fall. It was
fall.
Summer and then winter. And the first week in November, we dropped to -10. The snow started flying. The week after that, it was -20, -25.
And it was just downhill from there.
And here in New Brunswick, you'll get a 30-centimeter dump of snow, but it doesn't melt.
No.
So you'll get 1 or 2 major storms every month. Like, we don't get a lot of precipitation here.
It doesn't snow every day for months on end.
But it doesn't go away.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Falls, that's it. It's there until spring.
So you get 30 centimeters on the ground, and then you get another storm 2 or 3 weeks later, and you have 60 centimeters on the ground. And by February, our snowbanks, I think, were like 6-7 feet high on the edge of our driveway, because it just doesn't melt.
It doesn't go anywhere. It just stays there. We were used to back home where, it would snow a bit. We'd get maybe 2 or 3 days worth of snow, and then in a week, it's gone.
If not, it's sometimes 2 days it melt in BC, and it's not like that here.
It just stays because it's cold. It doesn't ever warm up. I don't think we got above -15 last winter.
That was our daytime high from about the end of November until March. -15, and at nighttime it was -30 most nights. Like, we would let the dogs in. Like, we'd let the dogs outside for literally like 3 or 4 minutes to go to the bathroom. And when you open the back door, I call it the reefer effect, where you open a big freezer and you get the frost that comes in. You open the back door and it's just this big cloud of like ice
particles. The air instantly crystallized.
It's crazy how cold it is here at nighttime. Like, you don't even want to go outside. And last year, we didn't have the chickens, we didn't have the goats to deal with, we just had the dogs. And this year's going to be a whole new ball game for us, is having to tend with the animals in the dark, in the cold, in a blizzard. It's going to be a new experience for us. But we are definitely looking forward to it. Now, a lot of people ask us, what do we need to start homesteading? Like, I have a job. Can I homestead without a job? Well, what's your take on it?
You can homestead without a job as long as you don't like, eating or having a roof over your head.
See, the problem with a lot of people say, well, I'm going to start homesteading and I'm not going to be working and my husband's going to do some odd jobs to make money. And the problem is if you plan on having a mortgage, you can't do that. A bank's not going to give you guys a mortgage without a job, first of all. And if you plan on selling stuff off your homestead and using that as a source of income, you're going to need to have 2 or 3 years of income to even show the bank that you are, working from your house, you're, self-employed before the bank will even touch you. So this is where homesteading gets really tricky for you guys, is either you fall into 2 categories. Having a mortgage in homesteading and not having a mortgage in homesteading. And that's what a lot of people they haven't seemed to comprehend yet, is that if you have a mortgage, it's going to be tough, because the chances are is one of you is going to have a job.
Outside the homestead. And then the other one's going to have to start building the homestead while the other one's working, because, after you've worked 8-9 hours a day plus your commute, it's going to be hard to come home and homestead after a long day at work. So you got one homesteading and one working until your mortgage is paid off. Unless you're lucky and you're able to have, an online business or something you can do through the internet to make money
to subsidize it. But again, you got to show some source of income to the bank.
Yeah, if you're going to finance anything, you have to have that history. And that makes it really difficult because not everybody can just buy a homestead cash and be like, great, I don't have a mortgage anymore. I'm just going to live on my land.
Exactly. You know, you can't do odd jobs and take the odd job income to the bank and say, I'm a homesteader, I do odd jobs, I make X amount of dollars a month, give me a mortgage. The bank's not going to touch you.
No, they're not.
You know, so I mean, you're going to maybe look at your first year, maybe homesteading, maybe renting a place. But the problem with renting a place is a homeowner may not let you have a homestead where you have chickens and goats and everything on his land. So that gets a little bit technical too, renting and homesteading. There's so many different levels of, you know, homesteading where you can actually homestead when, you know, you don't have the finances to buy a homestead cash.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you gotta make a list and make a plan and figure out, okay, this is what we want, this is what's gonna cost us, how can we get there? And that's the best place to start, is start making your list of what you want and then your goals of how you're gonna get there.
And whatever your price is to start your homestead, double that.
Yeah.
Because we laid out a plan of what it would cost us, and it's costed us twice as much. Even just as simple as our chicken coop. I mean, the structure was already there, but we divided the inside, we built some walls, we built the nesting boxes, and our cost was in our head a couple $100. Well, that actually doubled to $400 to do what we did. A lot of our projects on the homestead we've been able to do for free with the wood that we get from Home Depot. But again, you're only going to get pieces that are like 3 feet and under of 2x4. So you're only doing small projects like making a hay feeder or a little table, little things, not large projects where you're going to need an 8-foot 2x4. You're not going to get an 8-foot 2x4
or a full sheet of plywood
free from Home Depot. It doesn't happen. So you're going to have to spend some money. So, you know, you do a price breakdown on what it's going to cost you, double that price just as a safety net.
And give yourself twice as long to get it done. Like, if you think, oh, this project's only going to take me a day or two, give yourself a week. Seriously. Things come up, things happen, there's bumps in every project, and it always takes longer than you ever expect it to. So go easy on yourself.
We thought maybe in our first year we could start making some money to help us sustain in the homestead. And to date, 1 year to date, how much money have we made?
Nothing. We have
$0,
sold nothing
guys.
From the property. We've
nothing
sold
from the property.
Animals. We've sold nothing so far, and it's been 1 year.
It takes you on an average of about 2 to 3 years to start seeing any income. Because when you buy baby goats, it takes you almost 2 years
before you can breed them and get babies and start getting any money back.
Chickens?
Your chickens, they just started laying in July for us. And we're getting up with a steady stream where we could sell, you know, a few dozen eggs per week.
But we're not going to be able to start hatching our chicks until next spring because, well, nobody wants baby chicks in the middle of winter here in New Brunswick. So now we're going to be sitting dormant in that category for the next 6 months as we get through winter.
That's right.
So take that into consideration. And, our gardens.
Yeah.
Our garden.
They took a hit this year.
It took a hit, and it's not even going to sustain us through the whole winter for ourselves.
No.
So all you homesteaders out there that think that you're going to have this big, huge garden and you're going to take it to a farmer's market, you're going to make a bunch of money and you're going to be able to live off that, the odds are in your first 2 to 5 years, you're not. It's going to take you 5 years just to even grow your garden, get your soil the way you need it. Your main goal should be
feeding yourself first.
That's right.
Feed yourself, feed your family first, then work on over and above to be able to sell and make income.
For us, I think we're still, our gardens, before we can sell, it's probably a 5-year plan for us.
Yeah, before we could sell anything, you know, decent, would probably be, I'd say, another 2 to 4 years.
Yeah. And we do have farmers markets here in New Brunswick. In our local area, there are 2 of them that we could sell at. But again, you got to take that into consideration that the cost in fuel to get there in our truck would probably be about $20 for the day.
Plus you have to pay your table fee while you're there.
Which is $30 for the year. You know, so there is a lot of fees that you got to pay just to sell, you know, your basket of carrots
well,
for
and there's a lot of
$2.99.
competition too, though, right? Because there's like 12 other farmers at the market who are all selling carrots. So
that's right, honey and carrots and pickles and cucumbers and potatoes, and so there's a lot of competition out there.
So definitely keep that in mind, that homesteading and making profit doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to happen in your first year. Don't get discouraged, though. Don't let that stop you from trying, because all you can do is build your business on the homestead while you're, you know, sustaining yourself and your family.
But if you are looking at homesteading and you're looking at homesteading and neither one of you have jobs, you're going to want to have a safety net behind you to carry you through till you can start making money. Because I'll tell you something right now, you will not make it homesteading without jobs.
You definitely need something.
You definitely need something.
So I think for our next part of our series, what we're going to go into is actually starting your farm. Now that part of it's going to be the types of animals you should start with, the types of housing that you're going to need for them based on your climate and your location, as well as your garden.
The garden, what actually worked for us and what hasn't worked for us in the climate that we're in here in northern New Brunswick.
So make sure you tune in for our next part of the series. If you like today's video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe and turn on the bell notification so that you get notified every time we post a new video. We'll see you guys in the next video. As always,
thanks for watching.